Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Startup Sessions, the #1 show for starting a business that matters by doing work you love. I'm Michael Knouse, and today you are in for a treat. Jill Knouse is here with me, and we're going to be talking about how Jill successfully navigated moving away from a high-stress job in corporate finance to becoming a super successful yoga teacher and starting her own thriving yoga business. You're going to understand specifically how Jill closed that gap between working a high-profile but unfulfilling job in corporate finance to launching a super successful yoga business by following her heart. And you'll get many more tips on how you can safely make that transition from a high-paying corporate job to getting paid just as much to do work that really matters. It's all coming to you right now on episode 3 of the Startup Sessions. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Startup Sessions. And today I've got a really special guest in line. I've got the amazing and lovely Jill Knouse. And it's no coincidence that our last names are the same. She is my wonderful wife, and she's got an amazing story to tell. A few years ago, Jill walked away from a very high-paying and you might say prestigious job in financial services in San Francisco to pursue really a new lifestyle and her love of yoga. And today she's a successful yoga teacher. She runs yoga retreats. She teaches at yoga festivals. She has her own yoga teacher training program called Elevate that she's recently launched. So she's a yoga business person as well. And I'm honored to have her on here today because of the value that she brings. And it's really, she's done what so many people want to do. And what's the hardest thing to do, which is, especially if you're making a lot of money and society says you're in this great job, but you've got ambitions to do something and follow your heart. Well, that's what Jill has done. So welcome, baby. I'm so happy to feature you as my 3rd episode here on the Startup Sessions. And I really, I want to just start out by asking a question about, not even asking a question, maybe just have you tell us a little bit about, what was the day in the life of Jill, years ago when you were in financial services in downtown San Francisco in your business suit? What was life like for you then?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on your show, being the third person. I'm really proud of you, and I'm excited to be here. So it was a pretty typical 9-to-5 situation, per se, with the only thing different about that being that I usually would work much more extended hours than that. So probably 60 to 65 hours a week, also due to travel schedule. So I was on the road. I had, like you said, the business suit, the briefcase, the BlackBerry. I was connected at all times to the office, and I kind of chose that. I feel like it was what I defined as success, and I had the office downtown in the Embarcaderos of the last position that I held for about 6 years. And I felt really important in terms of the role and how I may have been perceived, but inside very misaligned and not really doing something that lit me up. I didn't look forward to going to work in the morning. And despite being so connected, it's just because I thought it defined me. And so I'd be the first one to respond to an email and, just really living that corporate life for many years.
Okay, yeah. That's, you weren't just dabbling. You were like full on immersed in the corporate world. And, I think a lot of us are in this situation where, we've got a lifestyle and we need to support that lifestyle. And we've got this job that we may have kind of fallen into over the years, and we're making a certain standard or a certain level of income to maintain a certain standard of life. But we've got these other ambitions that we want to pursue. But there's a big gap between that corporate life and sitting at the cube and at the desk, and then over here, in your case, running a successful yoga business and being a yoga teacher. So tell us, how did you decide to become a yoga teacher? What transpired between working in finance to becoming a yoga teacher in Portland, Oregon?
Well, I'd like to say that it was a very well thought out and planned departure from corporate into what I do now, but it really wasn't. I had created a lot of pretty deep grooves in terms of habits and things that I was doing and the trajectory of where I was going, and I was very unhappy, and I felt that I was waiting for something. So when this happens, then I'll do that. And I didn't even know what that was, but I knew it wasn't this. And so instead of continuing on that path, I think deep down inside, I just made the decision that I wasn't going to wait for anything anymore, and I was going to start taking steps to make my life look the way that I wanted it to look. And so the only way I knew how to do that was to start trusting my intuition a little bit more. And that led me down some really strange decision-making paths that even just started with getting a dog when I lived in an apartment in downtown San Francisco. And then that led to getting rid of the little sports car that I zipped around in and to getting a truck, and then buying a house in Portland. And a lot of these decisions may look as though they were very well calculated and choreographed, but I was just trusting that something new was coming and that I wanted my life to look a certain way, and that's not how it was looking at the time. So I just started doing things a little different.
Okay, so you hit upon something there that's big, and that's the intuition part. I think that intuition is one of the most important things for an entrepreneur to really connect with. And it was in Richard Branson, one of his books, I think, where he talked about, that's one of the most important things to him is listening to and following his intuition. And so you were making some decisions that from the outside appeared perhaps like really unrelated and kind of weird.
And crazy.
Crazy, perhaps. But on the
parents.
inside, you were feeling like this was an unfolding, an evolvement of you and the direction that you really needed to be going. Is that correct?
Yes, and I just knew that something big wasn't right. I wasn't living the life that I knew I could be in terms of health and well-being and consistency and spontaneity, both things. I just was stuck. I was stuck, and I knew that I felt like I was hitting up against a very big rock wall. And it hurt to hit it.
Okay.
It hurt to hit it. Yeah.
Okay, and the one of the things, what sets you apart, honestly, is that you made a decision to not continue running into that wall. You made a decision to make a change. And so many people, I think, numb themselves to make it okay to kind of deal with, the pain of staying in a job that's not working for you anymore. But
that's exactly, Michael, what I was doing for all those years was numbing and not seeing or feeling. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Exactly. So finally it was like, enough. I'm changing.
It was, and I bought this little bungalow in Portland after having visited there a few times and having friends up there, thinking that I might rent it out and not even necessarily make this move right away. And then once I owned the house and I felt a little closer to this new life, I was going to go. And so I immediately told my boss I was moving to Portland.
Wow. What'd your boss say?
Well, that kind of helped the transition go a little more smoothly. There was so much change happening within the firm that I was working at that having me leave right at that time wasn't ideal for them. And so they allowed me to telecommute for about a year. So I moved up to the house, was able to kind of integrate into this community and start to feel and test the waters of what I might be doing in the future. And it made it a little bit more of a smooth move for me. Which also I think is, if you believe in this kind of thing, which I do wholeheartedly, the universe was supporting my actions.
Hmm.
So I made some decisions that were intuitive and from my heart, and then everything seemed to kind of rise up to meet me.
Yeah.
Believe
Uh,
what you want. I thought it felt that way.
no, that's awesome. And I think people often, you know, discredit following your heart. A lot of
Yeah.
people, especially in the business world, that sounds a little too non-linear, a little too light,
Right.
a little too woo-woo or whatever. Yet it's, I think, the single thing that separates great entrepreneurs from, the average ones, or even the ones who never take the risk to go out and do what they truly love to do and want to do.
Yeah.
So so the fact that, you were able to transition from San Francisco to Portland
Hmm.
happened because you started making a progression, and then you asked your boss, and that
Yeah.
unfolded in a way that was, seemed to be fairly smooth because you were allowed to go telecommute from Portland.
Correct. Yeah. And still live here while exploring, future options,
Yeah.
making a San Francisco wage and living in a town like Portland that is a lot more affordable.
Okay.
So,
All right. Cool. So how did you
yeah.
become a yoga teacher? Tell us a little bit of the story behind that one.
Mhm. Um, well, one of the things that was lacking in San Francisco was I didn't take the time that I should, wanted to, needed to have a really balanced and healthy state of being. And so when I got up here, one of the first things I sought out was a health regimen, and I started working with a personal trainer and started to get myself into a healthier state physically. So I was mentally not feeling great. I was not feeling like I was living the life that I wanted to live from a career perspective and a lifestyle perspective. And so I started to make those shifts. And she introduced me to um, to yoga again. I dabbled in yoga in San Francisco through gyms and things like that, but I did a one-on-one with Jeanette D'Antonio here in Portland, and was immediately just so touched by the practice. And she really focused on pranayama, on the breath work, and less about the postures. But she just saw the stress in my body and my inability to be still, and so I was hooked from the very first moment that I had a class with her. It was something that I knew was going to be a part of my life, whether I didn't know right away it would be teaching, but I knew that it was going to be a part of my life. And I became a daily practitioner from
Okay.
that point on, and
Okay.
sought it out.
You just didn't know how big of a part it was going to play in
I
your life.
didn't. I did not. I did not. But it soon became pretty clear.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So you began practicing yoga.
Hmm.
Um, why was becoming a yoga teacher so important to you?
Um, well, I loved what it did for me. I loved that I started to feel again. I
Hmm.
almost feel as though um, part of me, my soul, had gone to sleep,
Hmm.
or was just buried somewhere. And the practice of yoga started to crack me open. Um, Started to feel a lot again. And I don't know, it's just I started to understand and see myself again as an aligned and sort of a more integrated whole person. And so I wanted to share that with others. It was a
Yeah.
pretty quick understanding that I could share that with other people and have a blast doing it. When I did teacher training, I don't necessarily know if at the time I thought I would be going in to become a full-time yoga teacher, or if I would just dabble in it, or it'd be a side thing, or whatever.
Hmm.
But once I taught my first class and had that experience of connection with other people and touch and healing and feeling, and so much happens in the course of the class. It was, again, one of those knowing feelings. I knew
Yeah.
I was going to
Wow.
do it.
Okay. That's powerful.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
So now let's fast forward to today. You began teaching yoga classes in Portland, and um, for people who may or may not know, if you're just a yoga teacher and you're getting paid to teach yoga classes, that there's probably a huge salary difference between that and what you were getting paid in your corporate job. So, today you've developed other pieces of income through your yoga business. And you've got this program, the training program for yoga teachers called Elevate. First of all, tell us a little bit, just a quick summary about Elevate, and kind of how did you know that it was time to, move forward and launch something else in your business?
Well, I think I'll back up a little bit more than that, even if I can, just
Sure.
to fill in that I realized pretty early on that teaching yoga a few times a week was not going to make my mortgage payment or my expenses at that time. And so
Yeah.
I made a decision pretty early on to go to massage school as well as another supplemental way of making money. So I did that and created a space where I could offer privates at home and also private yoga lessons and also massage therapy. So that was pretty early on. I graduated from massage school in 2008 and started my own practice there. So that was the first of a few decisions, knowing the circumstances and the income potential, especially in the near term as I gained experience and exposure, that I had to do something like that. And then over time, I enjoy doing massage. I love that. It's challenging on the body, and I feel like I get more energy and I light up more in the yoga studio and with that exchange through teaching. So I wanted to make that a bigger part of my business and allow the massage to become a smaller part of the business. And that happened over time through doing yoga retreats, beginning to get more involved in the festivals and workshops. And then ultimately led me to this latest venture. We're in the second round of Elevate, yoga trainings. So Elevate is a program that helps teachers take their skill set just to the next level. So they've all done a teacher training. They're at 200-hour teacher training, and either they have had fear around launching into teaching, or they've let time lapse, or they're a newer teacher and they're looking just to enhance what they know. And some of them are actually quite experienced teachers that just want to spend the time in a mentorship environment with other yoga teachers, learning, growing, experiencing, being held accountable, and just diving a little more deeply into why they do what they do.
Great.
So that's pretty much.
So let me back up just a second.
Yeah.
On something really important that a lot of people seem to want to know about and ask about. And, a lot of people are curious about the progression of a business. And so, you made a lot of decisions. What I'm hearing is you loved yoga so much that you pretty much decided, I'm going to do what it takes to make this work, which included going to massage school and using that to supplement your yoga teacher income, right?
Yeah.
And then you started adding in these other components to your yoga business as you became a more known yoga teacher, right? And so, just kind of it all unfolded in a way where you were trusting, your intuition. You were kind of gaining a following of students and were able to offer other programs. So it's something that didn't just happen overnight. It happened, over time, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely happened over time. But part of it too is stepping out and taking risks and not being afraid to do that.
Yeah.
Stepping up and saying, okay, I'm ready to take a group of people to Mexico on a yoga retreat. And I teamed up with a good friend of mine, and we led our first yoga retreat. I'd probably been teaching yoga for 3 or 4 years, and not a lot of people do that. I mean, I even went online and looked up, yoga retreats and teachers and things like that, and found all these how to find yoga retreats, and don't go if they haven't been teaching for longer than 10 years. So there were a lot of reasons why I might have fear around stepping out and doing something like that. But sometimes you just have to push yourself and know when you feel personally ready. And it doesn't have to go along with any kind of guidebook or, you know, that kind
It,
of thing. So,
yeah, and that, I think that too comes right back to the intuition, right? I mean, we're all
hmm
individual, we're all unique. There's no real, I mean, there's a lot of blueprints out there that
right.
entrepreneurs can follow, but it's hard to plug a unique individual into someone else's blueprint. There's so much, to take into account that just, trusting yourself and trusting that the next decision that you're going to make in your business feels aligned and feels right.
Yeah.
And also one of the things I'm always curious about too with people is, how did you just launch your business idea like with your Elevate program?
hmm
How did you test that idea to see if it was going to work or how people responded to it?
Um, well, I had this. I had the idea of Elevate, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but I tested it by talking to a great number of yoga teachers. I actually held an event and brought them together to pick their brains and have them ask questions and share their fears and tell me what they needed next and what they felt was lacking in the community, and got a ton of information out of that and let them know that with that information I was creating a program that would be launched. This was in November of last year, so November 7th of last year we had this event, and 40 or so yoga teachers came out and sat together and shared all of this amazing information about how they were feeling and what they felt they needed. And with that information, I basically said, I'm launching this program. The content is basically what you've just told me you need, and it'll be coming out in January. And I had many people sign up that evening, and then I began the process of launching and creating content for Elevate and how it looks today. And I didn't do it on
That's
my own.
fantastic.
No way did I do it on my own, but I
Yeah.
collaborated with a lot of amazing yoga teachers in town. I made it so that it's not a studio specific place. It's not a tradition specific yoga practice. It's for anyone who's done a teacher training program, and with that, in a neutral space, I can pull from lots of different studios, some of the best educators in town, and just create something that's really special.
I love that. I love that you didn't just create something in a vacuum,
Mm-hmm.
that you had an idea and then you went out to get feedback from other people in the community while also essentially giving people the opportunity to participate if they thought it was a
Yeah.
good idea. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I think really moves entrepreneurs along much quicker and allows them to have an immediate success when you start, when you really do take those. I mean, it's a risk to do that and to get all those people together, but at the same time, you're gaining immediate feedback on whether the idea has legs or not, and the fact that you offered them a chance to participate in the program at that time is brilliant. Um,
It was very amazing,
yeah,
the amount and just the richness of the information that I got out of that. And I also think that it was important to be malleable around that. And
yeah,
so, with an ear to the ground throughout the program, constantly sort of revising and allowing it to take shape and form as it unfolded. And that's what it does.
yeah. So, this is a big one too, because
hmm
especially creating new elements of your business or products or services,
hmm
I think, you know, I would include myself in this category. I tend to lean towards wanting to have everything perfected before I launch it out there. And that's
Yeah.
often the very worst thing an entrepreneur can do, because what I think people may want or need doesn't mean that that's even close to what they'll actually want or need. So, tell us a little bit about, you launched your Elevate program, um, but you hadn't really created a curriculum for the program yet, right?
No, no. But it was in all of the information and questions. We videoed the time that we spent with these teachers. There were
Mm-hmm.
lots of notes taken, and and everything was compiled. And the biggest themes that sort of rose to the surface were the ones that we took and ran with. And I should say because at that point it really was just me trying to figure out what direction this was going to go. And then with every application form that came into the program, they had a pretty good, a pretty in-depth list of questions that delved even deeper into what do you specifically need. And so as the applications were coming in, I was taking the information from November 7th, I was taking the information from the applications, and then creating a curriculum around that. You know, what are your greatest fears? You know, what are the areas that you need to focus on again? And so if something like subtle body anatomy came and rose to the surface, then I would make sure that there was someone coming in to educate on that particular topic, or on the sutras, or you know, whatever yogic topic was needed. You know, the biggest themes, I guess you would say, the most consistently asked for topics.
Okay,
so what we cover.
So for everyone out there that's watching, you basically just got a blueprint for how to move forward with a business idea in a way that allows you to gauge and get a response from the people that you're targeting it to, and to be able to launch it immediately. You just received a blueprint from Jill at a high level on how to do that. So it's something to think about in terms of, you know, ways to create more income for your business.
And if people know, you know, sort of the intention and the direction that you want to go with something, and also, you know, I have the good fortune of having been in this community for a long time, and so I have a lot of pretty deep connections with people. There was an element of trusting that what I was going to provide was going to be good, and I definitely felt that I got a tremendous amount of support of people saying, well, I know that what she's going to bring out is going to be powerful. So that was
so it was really a continuation of the value that you've had previously provided. So people, in other words, a lot of people already knew that what you would offer would be high value based on the fact that they had seen you perform as a yoga teacher and yoga retreats and those things prior.
Yeah, I definitely think there were several people that said, I'm going to sign up because I know it's going to be good. And because whenever I offer something, I make sure that that it has, you know, that it has all the elements that have been promised and then some.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so changing gears a little bit, what were some of the most important things that you've done along the way to ensure your success as a business person versus, you know, working in the corporate world? So in your yoga business, you know, just thinking back, you know, what are some of those most important things that you can recall that you did to make sure that, you know, your business continues to grow and evolve and thrive?
I believe that I have always done a really good job of maintaining connection, of networking, of adding value to others wherever I can, and connecting others. And if there is a need somewhere, and this is within yoga and sometimes outside of that, but with the people that I'm in relationship with, if there is a need that arises, I try to connect them with a solution. So I've always done that. I'm highly, if you know me, you know I'm highly into social media, and I've always maintained connections. I mean, I have connections that span the globe over the years. So I think that's a huge one: networking, maintaining connection, adding value. From the perspective of my life and sustainability and yoga and my business, I've always tried to keep things really simple. So they haven't always been, when I was making good money, I was spending plenty of it, and not always very practically. So that's something that that I had to really shift and change. I had to take my life and really simplify it so that I could maintain a very big shift in income, big shift in income. So, you know, there was a time where I hit up against some great difficulty financially as I transitioned into this, and didn't really realize how hard it was going to be. I had to have my mortgage renegotiated, or I was going to lose my house. So there were a lot of things that I bumped up against, and I had to really pare back and really simplify. Expenses down. Less is more.
Okay.
That gives me more freedom, liberation.
Yeah, simplicity does. I've done some of that, well, actually a lot of that over the last few years myself, and it always seems to feel good. It allows me to shift my energy to what's really most important and what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
That's great, Jill. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any final bits of advice for what I would call unconventional entrepreneurs, people that want to either, they're in a corporate job or they're in a cube and they want to start a business on the side doing something that matters to them and maybe eventually walk away like you did and do it full time. Any nuggets of advice that you might have for someone in that situation?
I guess I would just say pay attention to the things that light you up and give you energy and that you love,
Yeah.
and continue to step in the direction of those things, because if you can find a way to offer that as your job, as your career, you'll never feel like you're working. I mean, you're my husband. We work hard and a lot, and we're constantly talking about these ideas and creating, and it's a blast. And yesterday, you and I went on a walk, and we were talking about how, despite the fact that we're working so hard, we feel like we're on a sort of an extended vacation, because it is a joy. So it no longer feels like work when it's yours, and it's your creation and it's your passion, and you're connecting people and serving people and healing people, and whatever it is that your thing will be.
Yes.
Step in the direction of that something.
So good. So well put. I love it. All right. So one of the questions I ask all of my guests is around adventure. A big part of what I love is, to be engaged in different adventurous activities all the time. So I like to bring that into, my world, I guess, as much as possible, and engage people with that question. So Jill, what is your favorite adventurous activity you're currently engaged in right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, anytime that then we can get outside with our dog in some capacity, whether it's running trails or hiking or out at the river. And you know this better than anyone, that we just got back from picking up what we now call Shorty, and it happens to be parked in our driveway, and it's a new RV. So that thing is going to give us years of fun and adventure, heading up to Timothy Lake this weekend and get to enjoy just being outside in nature. So that's going to be the adventures. Those are going to be the adventures of a lifetime. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Welcome home, Shorty.
Shorty is a 22-foot-long Winnebago Chieftain 1984 motorhome. And it's our latest little, as Jill said, adventure. And we've already had a ton of fun with it, with Shorty.
Yeah.
All right, so what's up next for Jill Knouse Yoga? What's coming in the next 6 months that's exciting, you're excited about, you're stoked about? What's coming up?
Oh, I have so many things that are coming up that I'm excited about. Prana Fest is in a couple weeks. I've got some workshops that include live music, DJ Hi-Fi at Yo-Yo Yogis, and after that, Yogi Roots Festival, and I'm involved in a teacher training. I've got a yoga retreat that's happening November 2nd through the 9th in at a resort down near Todos Santos, Mexico. Next year, I've already got a great lineup of things. The Northwest Yoga Conference is one of them, and you can find all this stuff on my events page on my website. But just a lot of fun things.
Yes, and I'm going to be making sure that your website is attached here along with this interview. But why don't you go ahead and give us your website information, where people can find all this great info right since we're talking, and I'll make sure to link this up below.
Sure, it's jillknouseyoga.com. So
Okay. And that's Jill, JILLKNOUSE, yoga.com.
that's
Cool.
right.
All right, Jill, my lovely wife, thank you so much for being on my show. And it's been a pleasure to have you. And this is an adventure that's exciting enough as it is. And, to be able to share it with you and to have you on my show makes it that much sweeter. So thank you so much.
I'm very grateful to be a part of what you're offering in the world. So thank you so much.
Okay. Until next week, everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.